Welcome back to Old War Stories with Uncle Jay. This one is entitled, I'm Open-Minded. Here's how it's going to be. You know where this is going. Just a quick update. It's currently toward the second to last week or last week of August. I still have some Old War Stories recorded, which would take me into October sometime. But I figured while the weather's nice, I'm going to preempt those because it really doesn't matter when these go up. And I'll do some outside here like I always have. So here we are. Okay, anyways, so like I said, this one is called I'm Open-Minded. Here's how it's going to be. When I started Tiny Middle, 2003 or 4, no, 2002, end of 2002. I think it was. We had some managers at Tiny Middle, and one guy was awesome. I won't get into him. I've touched upon him in the past. He was just a great manager all around. And unfortunately, he fell ill and was no longer manager, so they needed to fill this position. Contrary to what they normally would do at Tiny Middle, they hired from within. Some guy who worked at the store in Chicago was paid to move to New York and work at my store and be the sales manager. That means he was my direct boss. Not good. He comes in and we have a meeting. And we come in there and he says, he's this big, fat guy. He was, let's say, 28 years old. I was maybe 30-ish. 26. 28. 29. I was a year or two older than him. Something. Whatever the ages were. Somewhere in there. So we were similar in age. This guy comes in. And his name is Geno. Gino. That immediately says Chitalian. He was indeed Chitaliano. A lot of oregano with this guy. But he didn't preach it and say, oh, this is a beautiful. He wasn't like that, and he didn't really have an accent. He was a fat schlub from Chicago. And they paid to give this guy a chance in life, moved him out to New York, paid all his expenses, let him get settled, and start working. And he did. And he comes in, we have this meeting, and he says, my name is Geno, and I want to tell you right off the bat, I'm very open-minded. Here's how it's going to be. Doesn't that defeat its own purpose right there? You can't say you're open-minded and then say, here's how it's going to be. What the fuck? So immediately we're off on the wrong foot. This was not going to bode well, and we clashed for all of the time that he was there. My schedule was 9 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. Somewhere in there, I get a half hour for lunch. I would have to clock out for that. So 9 to 4 was 7 hours. So I actually worked 6.5, or maybe it was 4:30, whatever it was. It was about 7-hour days. They were fine. They were great. Then fat-ass Geno comes in. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Geno was not his name. That was his nickname. Now, the funny part is you can take names like someone who used to come to Jay's bar years ago, Alyssa, I would just call her Liz. There was Robert. We just called him Rob. Everybody had a nickname. Matthew was Matt. And we just called him Matt. You know, that's how nicknames work. You just call people by their nicknames. So Geno is a short form of his real name. But I said, no, Geno was the name he told us, so the short form of that is just no. His real name was actually Giacchino, which is supposedly pronounced Giacchino. I can't get the idea, the double C's and the H and the Italiano. You shake a little oregano on it, it changes the affect of the sound, and all kinds of different things like that. I can't get a hang of that. I took Spanish in school. Really paid off, didn't it? Yeah. But if I took Italian, it wouldn't have helped. I'd be in the same boat. Speaking of boat, that's why, so many of them are named Tony, because they got off the boat at Ellis Island, and where you going? To New York. Tony. To New York. Anyway, Giacchino says, here's how it's going to be after he says, I'm open-minded. And the first thing he says, now one thing we're going to talk about is lunch. When I eat lunch, I like to digest. For somebody of that size, I could see that. Indeed, I could see that. So now, instead of a half hour for lunch, you're going to get an hour for lunch. Sounds great. Except, your day will be extended by another hour. So I just got fucked both ways. Because one, I don't need an hour for lunch. I don't need 15 minutes for lunch. I need about 5. Scarf down a sandwich, get the fuck back to work. That's what I'm there for. Well, now it's an hour. So I have to waste an hour sitting in my car, sitting in the break room, something, and waste time, and get home an hour later. That doesn't sound very equitable to me. Well, it so turns out the operations manager, who I was in cahoots with, I told him, I said, no, I'm not doing this. We had a thing going. The saying that a lot of Italians use while we're on the subject is, one hand washes the other, both wash the face. I don't know what both wash the face means, but one hand washes the other means, I'll do for you, you do for me. So the operations manager, Pablo, and I had this thing going. And if he needed something done, I would stop what I was doing and go take care of this for Pablo. I had to do whatever he asked of me because I knew that this would pay off later for me in spades. And it did. So here's how we work this shit. I would wait until 4 o'clock, because now my day was extended till 5. I would wait till 4 o'clock, and I would clock out, and I would leave. I would go home. And at 5 o'clock, I would call Pablo directly, and Pablo would clock me back in and then back out. So I forget exactly how it works, but I stole an hour's worth of pay from them. The way this ended up working out, I forget exactly how I did it or what the details were so many years ago. I stole an hour's worth of time with manager approval every day. This went on for like 2 or 3 years. So that was nice. That was a nice little perk. So anyway, that's what you get for being open-minded and then saying, here's how it's going to be. There was another little episode where Pablo asked me to do something, and then Geno comes out and he says, I need you to do this right now. I said, I'm sorry, I'm busy right now doing something for Pablo. And he says, come here. And I said, I am not your puppy dog. Whatever you're trying to do, a manager has already given me something to do that needed to be done now. If you need something else done now and you need me to do it, I can't do two things at once that are on opposite sides of the fucking store. One of you has to wait. And because you came to me after, it's going to be you. Well, stop what you're doing and do this now. Here's how it's going to be. Yeah, exactly. Fucking turd, that guy. He was such an ass, Geno. Pablo was cool, but he ended up leaving at one point, so I couldn't do my little trick with that. Let's see what else I got here. Yeah, we did that. We did that. Yep. That was kind of the deal. Oh, so what happened to Geno? Well, Geno, a couple things happened first. Somewhere in his stint, while I was there and he was there, I would go into his office. And, well, actually, there was one other little thing. That was later, where we kind of sort of made amends, so I'll get into that. Anyways, he had a 2-drawer file cabinet below his desk. And in the top were files. And in the bottom were bags of chips, pretzels, Doritos, cheese doodles, you name it. And he also had a mini fridge that he kept behind him where his desk was set up, and soda or something else in there, and you knew not to touch his stuff. But that fridge was so loud that if you ever went in that office, you just heard it, and it was kind of a sickening sound. It worked, otherwise he probably would have thrown it out or gotten rid of it, but it just made this awful sound, and it was just like, oh, God, and then dealing with this asshole. Well, anyway, life caught up with him at one point or another, and he had to go into the hospital, and he was out for a month. And he had to have, like, triple bypass surgery at, like, 28. Yeah. Fat guy, don't do that to yourself. You'd think after you have something where, shit, I almost died, you'd come back and you'd be back with a different outlook on life. In a sense where your life was almost just taken from you, so you're extra nice to people. He came back, same old fat asshole he was. No spine, if you will. No heart, nothing. He didn't give a shit. Anyways, that was that. I don't know what he was paid as a manager. Much more than I was paid, that's for sure. And he had everything going for him. They moved him to New York, get a new life together, work at a good job. Well, I don't know if you can call it good, working at Tiny Middle, but work at a good job, get a decent enough wage for someone of his age, and, you know, get a good foothold in life to advance yourself, buy a house or something, you know. But there was one time later on where, like I said, we sort of made amends. What happened was I got into the computer repair shop. I was in sales working under him, and then got into repairs. And now in repairs, I had to deal with Pat, who was the manager in there, but Geno was out of my life. He had really no say. You know, if he asked me to put paper in a printer or something, I mean, sure, no problem, but he can't ask me to put up price signs and fix merchandise on the floor, and it's not my area, and it's not his jurisdiction to do that. 4th of July, I would work, and the way it would work was if you were full-time, which I was, and you worked a holiday, you made double pay. Double pay is double nice. The way it worked was you worked your 8 hours, and then they gave you an additional 8 hours of holiday pay. So it worked out that it was double time. So now there's no more hour lunch, because that was his shit. Pat was off, because it was the 4th. He had the holiday off. And Geno was barbecuing. Out back. We had the loading dock open, barbecue out there, and it's cooking up hot dogs, hamburgers, chicken, stuff like that. Coolers with soda and iced tea and all kinds of stuff like that. Getting to be about lunchtime. Let's talk to the other guys in the shop. Hey, do you know if they started the barbecue up yet? Yeah, actually, I was just back down there going to the bathroom. That was also in the back of the building there. And I think they're doing it, yeah. Oh, really? All right, so I kept on doing what I was doing, and maybe 10 minutes later I said, I think I'll just mosey on down there, see what's going on. Now, you got to clock out for lunch. Pat wasn't in, so I didn't clock out. So I just moseyed on down there. Well, it turns out the barbecue has been going in full force, and people have already been in there eating. But the food that he already cooked had run out, but he had more to cook, so the barbecue still lit up, and he just threw some shit on there. He said, yeah, everything should be done in about another 10 minutes or so. And I said, all right, that's fine, I'll wait. I'm on break, you know. So I just hung out. And we didn't talk much. It was a bright, sunny, hot day, and I was just standing outside. I said, this is real nice. I love barbecue, the smell of it, all that, you know. I said, this is what Tiny Middle should have been. And Geno says to me, I know you're a little bit like me. There's something in that cooler over there you might be interested in. Put that in a paper cup, you keep it outside, everything's all right. Okay, I open it up. He's got a 24-pack of beer. And he said, help yourself. The man bought me a beer. Okay, so I get a paper cup, plastic cup, same thing. Pour the beer in there. And here I am standing outside. Barbecue's going, nice smell of barbecue. Know there's going to be good food coming in a minute. Still on the clock. Drinking a beer on company time. Oh, and it's double pay. I said, man, oh, this is great. Doesn't get any better than this, man. This is what Tiny Middle is supposed to be like every day. And I told my dad this story. Bastard. You know what he said to me? He said to me, it could have been better. I said, what, are you kidding me? I said, I'm drinking a beer, getting paid double, and there's a barbecue going on. He said, some hot bitch could have brought you that beer. Oh. Man, the old man had me on that one. He really did. Yeah, I'll always remember that. So whatever happened to Geno? Well, what happened to him is he got, shall we say, complacent. I would work Sundays. He was a big sports fan, so if there was a football game or something on, he wanted to see it. Now, we had TVs in the store, but to have him standing on the sales floor watching a game while customers are coming in does not put a great image in people's minds, and he could get in shit for that. So at around 5 o'clock, he would disappear. Where would he go? 2 doors down was a Houlihan's. And he'd go and sit at the bar and get himself shit-faced drunk and watch the game. And then 7:30, the store would close. He'd walk back over and make sure everything was all closed up for the night, get everybody to clean everything up and all that shit, and that was it. Well, it wasn't me, but somebody found him there and ratted him out. And they called the headquarters, and they said, so that's what he's doing? Yep. Okay, we'll look into this. They did look into this. They sent somebody who he didn't know, at least what they looked like, to Houlihan's on a Sunday. And this person sat at the bar, maybe got something to eat, maybe got something to drink, and of course the company paid for that, as well as their flight in, because they were located in Ohio. And they paid for them to come out and basically stalk him. And sure enough, he came in around 5 o'clock on a Sunday and watched the game for 2.5 hours, and then went back. And then one day, we found out that he was let go. Just desserts. He wanted them because he was such a fat guy. He loved dessert. Yeah. So anyway, that was the story of Fat Ass Geno. Someone who I hoped never would have been in my life, but was, but it ended up that karma got him in the end. Good for me. And that was that. So just some interesting little stories from back in the day, Tiny Middle. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.